Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to In Our Time. Last week for International Women's Day, the women took over our program, and this week the men are happy to be back, joined by our lone woman this time around, Miss McDonald. We have some very important gentlemen with us in our studios. These men live and breathe the topic we're going to be talking about for this program, and we're talking about all things rice. Rice is in a crisis in our country. The rice industry needs some serious work, and these guys are, I guess, can be described as experts when it comes to rice. They understand it. They understand what it will take to bring it to where it should be. They are representatives of the Rice Producers Association Action Committee, and we are very privileged to have them in the studio with us. We have James, who's back on the program also. But this afternoon belongs to Mr. Durga Torhin and Mr. Jenna Raman. Gentlemen, welcome. Um, Tell us first and foremost, what is the importance of rice as a staple, and generally, what's the importance of rice in our country as a commodity?
First of all, let me thank you for being here. And if I see this, you guys as youngsters, young Guyana, I am sure that May 11, Guyana will not be the same anymore.
Excellent. Agreed.
And this encourages me that also the rice industry, if we give also the younger people a chance and show them that there is a future in rice, that rice will be doing well again. Why is rice so important in Guyana? 125,000 people depend on rice, and when you look at that, it is our staple in Guyana. Everybody is involved in rice because everybody eats rice. The moment you say that, you know that that is something you don't play with, you don't take chances with. And having said that, one should understand that the importance of rice in Guyana is immediately politically linked. Everybody wants to have a bite out of it, and therefore you have to safeguard it. Why is it so important? I have to take you back to 1946, where the government then said that, look, if we want food security, we have to protect those people who feed us. And therefore, that statement made in Hanoi 2005, where the world said that those people who feed us cannot be the poorest. They cannot be the poorest. And today we're in Guyana in a situation where a lot of small farmers are facing bankruptcy because of the mismanagement in the industry.
So let's talk a little bit about that then, because coming on to the end of last year, we started seeing some subtle signs that all was not well in the rice industry. So take us from that point and tell us exactly where we are now. What is the crisis rice is facing, the rice industry is facing?
Okay.
And you can jump in here.
Yeah.
Let me add a little bit more to this question of Guyana, the importance of rice. We've said over and over again, I've asked people in an audience, in any audience we've been, how much people here eat rice at least one time a day? And everybody said yes, at least one time a day. It is our staple diet. We can't do without rice. Some people eat rice 3 times a day. And in the rural areas where there are sometimes nothing to eat really, because you cannot imagine the level of poverty that some of our people face today, that they may barely able to boil some rice and put some beans and so on inside, and some onions and garlic and pepper and so on, and that's what they eat. So what we call cook-up rice. So it is an essential part of our living. And the fact is that Torin will know that too. In European countries and North American countries, they subsidize their staple. In Guyana, we don't do it, and I don't know that.
Well, one of the things in the modern world is that governments and people want to go away from subsidies. In the better, or what we call then higher developed world, like in America and in Europe. In America, you have what they call the Farm Bill, which is $52 billion per year. In Europe, it's about the same. Bringing it back to rice, it is very simple, because Europe, for instance, is highly developed, and you will not find a rice farmer who will go and slave like they do in Guyana and produce rice for $500 a ton. The cost price of rice in Europe is almost 1,100 euros a ton. So what do they do to compete and to make a level playing field for their people? Is they indeed subsidize it. Before they had a barrier, we had to pay a duty, but under the WTO arrangement, they have to take away the duty. So what do? They give land subsidies and so forth. And the only reason they do that is to make food affordable for the rest of the people. Now, Guyana is blessed that we have such fertile lands, and we can produce high quantities. I have to take you back to 1991, where the concept was made of how to make rice an important product and make it work for farmers. In 1991, we knew the rice would grow because the regulation was made to ship our rice to Europe on a preferential condition. What happened after that is that while in 1992 already rice had hit 180,000 ton export and was booming, it all went well, because what was said then is that when you start to reach 250,000 tons, you need to do a few things. One of the things is you have to start to look whether you have to create a commodity exchange, and that would then also be instrumental for all kind of other products. The other thing which was put in that plan in 1991 was that when you start hit 250,000 tons, start to look at diversification. We import 40,000 tons of wheat. Everywhere where rice grows, wheat grows too. Corn, we import corn for the feed. You can plant corn too. None of that was done. And if it was done, it was so poorly done that it never developed. And when it really went wrong is when Dr. Jagan died. Then I really don't know what happened, but what I do know is that what the result is today, that the farmers are in a dire position, especially the smaller farmers. And this regime now in power in Guyana cannot say that they don't know. This thing was signaled.
But they have been saying that nothing is wrong with the rice industry, but the farmers seem to think something else. So who is right?
So that is now the whole question. While it was identified by the opposition, who is the watchdog for Guyana, and has shown that they are that, they signal it and they call in professionals. One of them was me, and I told them, I analyzed it, and when they signal it and they call the people in charge and say, hey, what's going on? I don't have to tell you how vehemently they defended it, that everything is very good in rice and the farmers are happy and we have markets and so forth. If you see today's publication, there was a meeting with the minister where the minister had to admit that there is no market. Africa was not even mentioned. And when people talk to professionals in the field, you have to have professionals talking like people like us, because otherwise you look like a fool, what they're looking at. And let me quickly explain it, as James has asked me to do moments ago. It's very simple. The minister was asked, how much rice do we still have in the system? He said, over 100,000 tons. Okay. Is the contract with Venezuela signed? He said, yes. How much is that? 240,000 tons for the year. So that is per crop 120,000 tons. If that is 120,000 tons and you have over 100,000 tons of the old stock, it means that, okay, then you will be depleting the old stock. So what we have to look at is the crop is coming in. How much is the crop? They say 600,000 tons, we're going to have a bumper crop and so forth. 600,000 tons, everybody said, okay, have you sold it? Panama, they told us that, oh, Panama paid yesterday. Then they were,
Only for one. Only for one.
they own people say, hello, all of the 4 contracts of 5,000 tons, it's only 1 contract was paid. So 3 contracts are not paid, and this is last year. Now, where are the other markets except the small few markets which is still done by the private sector, because the rest of the trade is hijacked by GRDB and Siraj and so forth, who we consider multi-gazillionaires now. That is the situation. So the crop is now coming in, and what game do these guys play? What dirty game do they play? And that need to be told to people, especially young people who, farmers, they're young children who are in school. They're saying, if this is what it is, I am planting rice. Whereas in other countries, rice is something which people do want to plant because you can make a living of it. Let me tell you what they do. They go and they tell the farmers, oh, we set out the price $3,000 or $3,200. But that is from $6,000. So the paddy price is cut in half. Most people, especially smaller farmers, because of grades and so forth, get less as that. We just came today from Essequibo. The farmers are getting $1,600 per bag. Those people are crying. They say, we're finished. We're bankrupt.
Let's talk a bit about that. The average farmer who's sitting at home now, what is he thinking about? Where is he? Where's his mindset?
The first thing the farmer is thinking of is, how do I get paid? And why do I say that? Because they have been games played by this regime which are unforgivable. One simple example, which is next door to Georgetown, Rhymesay. That mill was told by Mr. Jagnarayan, you will have a contract in the presence of 10, 15 people in the boardroom of the RDB. You will be exporting 3,000 tons to Venezuela. Those people started to buy paddy. When they say, let us export, they say, no contract, Jagnarayan is not home, doesn't answer his phone, nothing. Now the people bought the paddy at $3,200 a bag, and they can't export it, and they have all kind of problems with export licenses, and so with all kind of stupid and unrealistic and lies why they can't export. So they now have to mill, sell locally, take a loss, try to pay the farmers and so forth. Who pays the price? The farmer. He has to wait for his money. He can't pay his bills. His tractor is being pulled in and so forth. Now the new crop comes. Now this is what I'm telling the farmers, and those farmers who are listening need to know. Guyana need to know. Everything they're doing now is about May 11th, because one, they don't have adequate markets. So what is being sold, as we have said before, the lucrative market is for friends, cronies, and families. And we have pointed it out in public. They can't refute it because it's the truth. So what is left for the rest is now the following big problem. While they have said everything is okay, you understand? And we have been saying, don't lie to the public, don't lie to the farmer. Then finally, the president came out in December and said, well, yes, there is a small problem, but I have given the rice millers $5.2 billion to solve the problem. Question number one is, where did you get it from? Where did that $5.2 billion come from? You understand? That was a big alarm bell for those people who are the watchdog for the taxpayers. They say, well, it wasn't authorized in Parliament, so it came from somewhere else. The second thing is, if you give it to millers, farmers are still complaining that they didn't get paid. So who got that $5.2 billion? We need to know. This is taxpayers' money. You understand? No answers. No answers. You understand? So they have been blatantly lying, lies above lies above lies. The result of it is that we are now in this crisis. The crop is coming in. As I said, we came this morning back from Essequibo. Farmers are bringing their paddy. No price on the voucher, no date of payment. And you know why? Don't blame the miller. If I don't know where the rice is going to be sold, what must I do with the paddy? But the thing is that if the miller don't receive the paddy, where is the farmer going with it? So we're in a mess at this moment.
So you're stating emphatically that the problem is not between the rice millers and the rice farmers.
Of course, there are cronies who work with them. You understand? So they are doing what they have to do. But the reputable mills and the smaller mills who are not in what I call the inner circle of the big boys, those people are in big problems. Big problems.
You asked a question about why is it that the rice farmers are in this perpetual crisis. Now, what has happened is that the Rice Producers Association, the Guyana Rice Producers Association, that is totally controlled by the PPP, and they are, and like people like Siraj, who's a member of parliament, that they have been consistently rigging the elections. I think we'll come to that a bit later on, but the point I want to make is this, is that why is it that you have been seeing on your television and in the newspapers regularly over the last 5 to 6 years, the farmers have been protesting for higher prices and better conditions in terms of dams and drainage and so on. And these farmers are not, the rice farmers are not being represented. That is why, that's how the emergence of the Rice Producers Action Committee, that we as rice farmers inside the organization have come out to raise our voice against the leadership of the Guyana Rice Producers Association that has become a poodle of the government. And I want to make this point very clear. Not only that the Guyana Rice Producers Association has become a poodle of the government. We see that in the trade union movement. GAU, for instance, is a mouthpiece of the PPP rather than being a mouthpiece of the sugar workers. So you have seen sporadic strikes all over the sugar industry where workers have come out independently of their union. Time doesn't allow me to go into what happened in Diamond, that the workers had to, we went there and set up the Workers' Action Committee, GAU Action Committee, to argue for severance payments. And eventually, just before the last election, they granted them. But there was a big struggle within GAU and the leadership in GAU because they sold out the workers. This is exactly the same thing that has happened to the Guyana Rice Producers Association. They have not been representing the rice farmers up and down the country, and hence you see that in Essequibo, you will see, we will show you television, the interviews we did on the demonstration we had this morning. You will see that there are hundreds of rice farmers who are extremely angry and who are former supporters and activists of the PPP. So there is a semi-rebellion that is taking place in Essequibo and across the country. You probably would have read about Berbice, where some of the farmers who came out. And these farmers, I have to stress, were people who had pledged loyalty to the PPP as the party that actually a rights party. Now today, these farmers are coming out and they're blaming us, myself and Mr. Durga, for agitating and leading this rebellion. Well, we don't have a problem leading this rebellion because I am a rice farmer, Mr. Durga is a rice farmer and a manufacturer of rice, and we don't have a problem leading this revolution in the rice industry, in agriculture in general, because there's a major crisis in agriculture in general. And this government, the PPP government, over the last decade and a half, has paid no serious attention to agriculture and the food chain. And there's something I guess we'll go much more into.
The action taken by you gentlemen are very commendable. Number one, I know that the Minister of Home Affairs recently said that Guyanese people are very happy, but that's not a very happy picture that you guys are painting of the rice industry. James, I know you have a question and we want to bring in Nessa also, but let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion on the rice industry.
I am excited about the future for my country. I'm happy to see that we can set aside our differences, set aside the past, and work together for a better Guyana. Let's move forward together. I am excited about the future for my country.
Vote APNU AFC.
I am excited about the future for my country. I'm happy to see that we can set aside our differences, set aside the past, and work together for a better Guyana. Let's move forward together. I am excited about the future for my country.
Vote APNU AFC.
This is our time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to In Our Time. We're talking specifically about the rice industry in this program, and we've been looking at what are some of the wounds in the rice industry. But more than that, we've also been talking about how do we heal those wounds. And Nessa had a question.
My question today is, I want to deal with the whole crisis that the rice industry is encountering, and we are on a quest right now to rescue it and to prevent it from dying like the sugar industry, right? So I would like for you to tell us more about the industry, the organization that you're a part of, this entire organization of fixing the rice industry, helping local farmers and so on.
Okay. Well, I'll answer some of it. Doreen will deal with more complex aspects of it. We believe that there is a permanent solution to the rice industry. We hope that the demands that we have put outside there, we think that, and we've got assurances that the coalition will put those demands into the manifesto. We've already been given that assurance. So that is why we're saying that we are the ones who are capable of permanently resolving the rice industry's problem. So the way to do that is to re-establish the agricultural bank. We have met already, Mr. Granger, and he accepted that as part of the agreement that the agricultural bank will be established. Corinne will give more detail in that. The other point is about the what we call the intervention fund or the stabilization fund, where that fund that is linked to the bank, that when the price for paddy or rice goes at a certain level, that the fund kicks in automatically, and so therefore there's a fixed price for paddy or rice. So the international markets doesn't or market forces will not affect the rice farmers or even the rice millers.
But if I may cut you on that, will not create some difficulties if, for example, the world market is, say, at 3,000 or say 2,000, and then there's a gap.
Okay, we have evolved in the world. In America, you have the Farm Bill, 52 billion. In Europe, you have all the levels of what they call levies you have to pay, that is to protect the farmers and to make sure that the farmers stay minimum middle class income people and so forth, and they protect it. Now the question is, how do you fix that? Sometimes I'm amused because when I hear Mr. Jagnarayan and Mr. Siraj, who never planted rice but is Rice Farmers Producers Association, I have to laugh because I hear them talking and telling people, oh, the world market price is low, so it is not us, it is that. It's exactly there is where the problem is. When you have the lame guiding the blind, because that is the situation what we have here. Today, in the rice trade, we don't talk about world market price anymore. We talk about the rice index. And the reason for that is that there are hemispheres. They are so saying things, and knowledgeable people say, but do these people don't understand that if you say world market price and at the same time you say, oh, we get over $100 more in Venezuela, then somebody has to regulate something. In Japan, rice is sold at almost $2,000 a ton, because the farmers who produce it there, those are very educated, high-level people and so forth. So if you want to get in there, you need to have a quota, and it helps those local farmers. So what should have been happened here? And I have to take them back to 1991, where in that report it was said that when you start to hit 250,000 tons, you have to start look at the commodity exchange. You have to do the negotiations with the hemisphere where you want to supply your rice. Simple. They got Venezuela. Hallelujah. Everybody left Jamaica, Trinidad. Everybody goes like sheep into Venezuela. Whereas the CARICOM market is a protected market. We have 20% duty which you have to pay to enter the CARICOM. That's one. Two, our freight from Guyana and Suriname to any CARICOM country is in the vicinity of $22, $26 a ton. If you bring the rice from the Far East, you have to pay $160 per ton. So we have market. What they have failed to understand is that when you grow an industry, the way farmers have grown it because they were making money. In 2008, farmers were getting $6,000 per bag. They start to plow up the cricket fields, everything. You understand? So the farmers have done their job. You understand? The regulatory body which was formed called GRDB, Guyana Rice Development Board, is now not a board anymore for development, is a trading company for stalwarts of the PPP,
Special
the
interests.
cronies, and so forth.
And I know part of the remedy is reorganizing that. How do you think we are going to do that?
Well,
First of all, the Guyana Rice Producers Association, and Gina has been busy with lawyers, and you need politicians to help you to take it to Parliament. The election of the people representing the farmers has to be done by an independent body, call it GCOM or whatever you have it. So farmers can be represented. Now those farmers, the problems in Essequibo are different from the problems in Berbice. This is why GRDB has 13 seats. So, and this is where millers would be, farmers would be, the consumers association would be, and there were 7 seats where you could bring the farmers from the several areas, elected to represent them, and then every year, if they don't do a good job, the farmers can replace them. So you had a platform advising the government, because the government represent the people, they put them there, who can now listen to what the problem is in the industry, and they can do the necessary. So that is one of the first things has to be fixed. The other thing which has to be fixed immediately is that you need to bring in professionals to do the brokerage, because what I'm saying is it is not an easy fix. You understand? Somebody is going to take a hit because of this mismanagement. Whether this coming crop, you have to sell it cheap, you understand? Just to make sure and pay the farmers. You might not be able to pay them well, but you have to pay them that they can get back to the field. And in that 6 months or 4 month period where the new crop is coming, you must have solved this problem. And that is how you.
You see, the rice industry, you have to look at the rice industry from a holistic standpoint. You can't give it one aspect of it and leave out the other aspect, because Turin is quite rightly said. That's why our demands, if you want to call it that, or our solution to the rice problem, has to have a holistic approach to it, so that we establish the agricultural bank, so that you have a revolving, farmers can borrow money at a low interest rate. you have this stabilization fund, you have silos built around the country where farmers can actually bring their paddy, store it, not the concrete floor that Jagdeo spent millions of dollars to build. Jagdeo has got no idea about rice and have no interest whatsoever. How could you, in a modern age, where you have the mechanization of the rice industry, where paddy is no longer bagged, but is bulk produced, that the combine cuts the paddy and it comes and it drops it into these trailers, and it then ships. It just comes to the factory, the mills, and it's dropped down there, and it goes automatically by elevator into the dryers. And these are the things that Torin has said it many times. Many years ago, he said, what we need to do is to establish silos around the country where the farmers are producing, so that it protects the grain, and then the farmers are then being paid automatically from the bank. So the farmers don't have to be paid by the millers. So the miller is an important person in the industry, but you don't burden him with the problems of having to pay the farmers. And you have this row between the farmers. So government has deliberately created the miller as a scapegoat for the skullduggery and the squandermania that they're going on with for years. And the Guyana Rice Producers Association, that was set up by the colonial government to actually represent the farmers, have dismally failed to represent the rice farmers, and hence they see us, who have become the chief spokespeople of the rice farmers, as enemies of them, the cabal. And this is what has become. We cannot not discuss the rice industry without discussing the political control of the rice industry. And I think later on, James, we will come to discuss how the people can control.
May I add to that, that in 1991, the plan was clear, and unfortunately, Jagan died because I spoke many times with him, and that he understood it. One of the things we had to do, and let me give you an example. You go to Venezuela, you understand why we have initiated it, because it's government to government, and well, that's a different thing. But you don't sell paddy, you try to sell end product because you want to have the added value here. They're selling paddy, and they continue doing it. And they can tell you, oh, Venezuela wants paddy, they don't want rice, and so forth. Where we say that marketing starts when the customers say no. You have to start explain to them why they should buy the end product. Jamaica once bought from Guyana every product packaged. Up to today, the plan in 1991 was we start to ship 100-pound bags again, but we want to go back to the days where everything was bagged. Everything was bagged in Water Street. We had a fantastic bagging plant there, a facility. Everybody knows what happened. It was sold to the private sector. Then by cabinet decision, it was repossessed. By presidential decision, it was moved into NISIL, and now they are discharging stones there. So these people want to tell us that they're serious about the rice industry. But I will give you a few other examples. While they now come up just before election, if I tell you with what rush they did it to put a gasification plant and say, oh, you see, we know where we're going. We have a gasification plant. In Mahaika, we have gasification plant running over 10 years. The same Ruimzig mill imported over $1 million in mother turbines to create energy with a husk. Never could get a signed agreement with GPL to buy the energy because that plant would produce over 2 megawatt of energy. GPL was not interested. You understand? So it sits there. So when they say they're serious about the rice industry, I am saying you're jokers. You understand? So the further development of the industry wasn't done. Just like sugar. Sugar, there was a complete plan. Dr. Jagan decided not to go ahead with the privatization. And what I tell all Guyana to think, Rice was privatized in 1989, when the mills were privatized and did well. Sugar was completely controlled by the PPP government and spent billions of dollars of taxpayers' money and is bankrupt. So people must draw their own solution. But you know, ordinary people sometimes tell you in a very plastic way what the problem is. Today, we came from Essequibo, and a farmer was walking there with something he wrote. He said the rice industry got plenty bugs. PPP, Jagnarine, Siraj, and a couple more. And he says, remedy, May 11th.
I agree with him. And I think we all agree with him.
Remedy, May 11th. I agree with the man.
I want to talk a little bit about 1991 in a bit, but I think Nessa wanted to come in with a question as well.
Yes, I have a question that I've been dying to ask all the time.
Die no more.
Yes.
Ask this.
Now, in today's Kaichur online, I see there is a story there, and the caption is quite catchy. Limited markets, lower prices, running rice farmers bankrupt. Breakaway RPA group. And the two persons who were featured are no other than Mr. Raman and Dr. Durga. So I know that you can actually shed some light on the entire situation about this caption and how the farmers are actually running to bankruptcy.
Is it a breakaway faction?
Let me answer the breakaway thing. To run with that aspect. You see, the PPP, they're so afraid of being opposed, of being we show them up. We are not a breakaway. We, as I explained earlier, we are legitimate rice farmers. According to the act that we read out earlier, the RPA Act, and I'll ask James to research it more because we'll ask him to, as a legal advisor officially, to actually advise us how we can amend that act so that when the new government comes to office, it should be one of the things in the 100 days. So that we can show the farmers that this new government is very serious about transforming the rice industry, that it has the rice farmers at heart. And so James here today will, if he agrees, that he will research that,
take that chance.
and he will officially be our legal advisor.
I don't take that chance.
And that the
I
farmers,
want to add to that
so, Darren, so that this question of breakaway, that even the journalists don't understand what we are doing. We are an interest organization. We are members of the Guyana Rice Producers Association. The difference is that we are the most active rice farmers and rice millers in that organization, really fighting for the rights of the rice farmers. And this envies them. The PPP lawyers wanted to take us to the court to say that we were using the RPA name, but when we add action committee to it, they couldn't find anything to actually take us to court.
Yeah. Furthermore, it was more than once said by Mr. Jagnarine and Mr. Siraj, oh, that is a two-man faction and so. Well, it is simple. If they would have seen the rice farmers in Essequibo this morning, and I cordially invite them to come with us anywhere they want, where they're rice farmers, and we'll see
Who represents the
who represents who. Because definitely Siraj can't go to Essequibo.
and let them call an election of the Guyana Rice Producers Association, supervised by an independent body,
And see what
they will
happens.
see who will win the elections.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
challenge them now.
You understand? Because it was always rigged.
Gentlemen, if I may, we know that 5% of the GDP rice contributes to that. About 239 million US dollars will be arrived from exports. But I gather there's a lack of transparency and accountability in the sector. As I listen to you very carefully, it appears as though the production is not the problem. The market is the problem. And where we find rice now at a $3,000 low. When I was planting, rice is at 42.
You were
I was at price.
Young rice.
Young rice. It was $4,200.
Very interesting that you're a rice.
Yes, I was. I tried some things, man. You know, but I got a lot of blows. I mean, the transportation was one, labor was another problem.
And
It was
infrastructure.
very high. Yeah, the dams are terrible. Whilst taking the paddy into the field to set the site, the bar broke in half. So the tractor went one way, the trailer
Trailer
stuck in
went
the
the other
mud. You know, so I had a difficulty.
You had to give it
I
up.
lost a couple $1 million.
Well, that's
I
why
lost a
you,
couple
that's why
million
we want to
dollars.
bring the industry. And I bet later on we will talk about how we want to encourage in the new government what we think that the new government should do to actually get rice farmers' children and other people who have not functioned in the rice industry, young people, to actually take over from us.
But
But-
I
but
said,
Corinne will
I
answer.
want to do the transparency and accountability
Okay,
part.
Corinne,
what is
why are
happening
we at the
is that,
losses?
look,
Where's this money
look,
going?
yeah, okay.
It's not going to the farmers.
There are a few realities in business, in life, in the financial world. When any businessman say, hey, this is an industry of over 200 million United States dollars, the first thing is there's money to be made there. Now, of course there's money to be made. Let me give you an example. Let us say we have also already exported, I think it's over 900,000 tons to Venezuela. Let's for easy sake say 1 million tons has been exported to Venezuela. So where does the money siphons off? Where does the money go? So why is the farmer
Yeah.
in this position?
And get into the freight. I want
Yeah.
to know about the freight as well.
It's,
Don't forget that part.
simple. Let us take the freight.
Yes.
To charter a vessel to take a 6,000 ton of rice to Europe will cost you between $58 and $65 a ton. That is more than 10 times the distance going to Venezuela. Now, if we charter a vessel to Venezuela, we talk $28, $35 a ton. GRDB is charging the farmer $68 a ton.
Are you serious?
Somebody made 30 million United States dollars already on that freight. And I challenge them to bring the charter parties and we do a forensic and you will see that that is so. So these guys make massive money.
Off the
Massive
backs of
money
the rice farmers.
on the back of the rice farmers. And this is unforgivable. This is unforgivable. You understand? So, and then you come back and you tell farmers, the minister comes with a dry face and tells us in a miller's meeting, Tuesday gone, that we recommend the price of $32.50 for extra A, which nobody get, and C grade, which is 29. So most probably the farmer will get 26 and lower. That's basically what it is. You are telling me that you are a rice farmers government, and you tell me how farmers going to make ends meet with $2,600 per bag.
But, sir, if I may respectfully suggest to you, some farmers are being paid $1,600 per bag,
Absolutely.
$1,800 per bag.
Yeah.
How are they getting back into the fields with that?
Well,
kind of,
this
That's why you
this
said
is
there's
the sad situation. You follow what I'm saying? And as the farmer said, we try to tell him that, you know, there is no market. So even the miller would want to. Why would he buy the paddy? And I'm trying to be realistic. You understand? This rice industry is so badly screwed up by this regime. You understand? That everybody is in a crisis. The rice millers, the farmers, the reputable people. I'm not talking about the inner circle, the cronies. They make massive money. And you can see it on their lifestyle, what they do, the houses they build. You go around and you see.
You need to take a camera, James. You need to take this camera around. No, seriously. And you will be amazed, the Guyanese people will be amazed that we have developed an oligarchy, a true oligarchy in the rice industry. You'll be shocked. I was terribly shocked being in the rice industry for so long and grew up in it. I could not believe what I saw in the Essequibo. With a massive, you say Jack Davis' mansion. Well, when you go around to Essequibo, you will see the mansions that these millers who have been robbing the rice farmers, and then you will water will come out of your eyes. When we were there today, a woman came and she was crying because she said she got $1,600 a bag for her paddy, and she asked the question, how am I going to replant? How am I going to recultivate? We didn't have an answer to her.
That's the impact on the
On the ground.
On the
That's
ground.
the
And that's why
impact
we're
on the
saying
ground.
that woman will be bankrupt because she cannot recultivate. What happens in that situation, James, is that we have a situation where the rich is they're becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer.
The middle class is becoming
because
poor.
what has happened? A woman like that cannot recultivate, so she has to rent her lands to the same some of these same millers or big rice farmers, because she cannot find the money to recultivate the land. And this is what's happening all around the country. Unfortunately, James, we have not, the opposition politicians have not paid enough attention to what has been going on in the rice industry. It's collapsing right in front of our very eyes. And we need to, and I'm very happy that you call us here to discuss this matter as a former parliamentarian, to air the views and to actually begin to start to help the rice farmers.
But as you mentioned, just as we come down to the end of our program time, one of the things we spoke about off camera, we were talking about 1991 earlier, and I know you gentlemen said that the PPP likes to tout the fact, that they returned democracy to our country and lift a lot of bans that were in place prior to 1991, and I wanted to pick you up on that.
It is simple. What happened is we were invited in 1988 to Washington, where President Hoyt made a speech, and I vividly remember when he said that Guyana has changed and Guyana is open for business. It wasn't easy. We came to Guyana when after talking to the IMF, and there will be fair and free election, blah 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 blah. Now, first we functioned as consultants. So what do we do with rice and sugar? Now, we made a plan. Rice was executed, sugar was not executed. 1991, the comprehensive plan was presented, where you would see, and yes, we had predicted 1 million ton of paddy, but it would go in phases, and while we were doing that, by the time we would hit 500,000 tons of paddy, we would be looking whether it would make sense to continue cultivating paddy or move the further lands being developed and putting people back to work and young people, give them a future, whether we should do wheat. Let me give you an example. Wheat, we import flour here, we import wheat here. To produce a ton of wheat is much cheaper than to produce a ton of rice. Not unfortunately, we choose rice in the past days, so that's what we do. But we could easily took the other lands and go to wheat, which we're importing. So you'll save the country a lot of foreign currency. The same thing with corn. And all of that was still in the making because Dr. Jagan, he would talk with us, but he also had those people who wanted to go back to the old system where everything is controlled by the state and so on. Dr. Jagan tried to find a balance. But when the man died, I think they throw all those plants in the Demerara River or so. I don't know what happened.
Put it mildly.
Yeah. But one unimportant point that Corinne missed, which is this, is that Hoyt, when Mr. Barnum died, Mr. Hoyt opened the economy. He was the one that brought back lots of stuff that were banned, and there were time doesn't allow us to go into some of the interesting policies that Mr. Barnum had. Eat local, buy local, and plant local. What was wrong with that? When the PPP came to office, they started to talk about grow more food.
The same thing.
And all we saw was billboards all around the country. And it came to the point, I don't know how much time you have, to go into the pushing Robert Prasad as minister at the time, called me in to discuss this whole question about diversification. It didn't go anywhere because they were not very serious about diversification. First of all, if you want to diversify, you have to know how much lands you have in the country, what is being cultivated, how much is being cultivated,
what is the master plan,
what type of soil you've got, and all those things before you talk about diversification. And they never had any of that. So when we went into the meeting and started to discuss with their senior officers, and I said, listen to me, you're talking to a man who knows about all aspects of agriculture. Because, and I want to make this final point. You see, people like Jack Lorraine and Siraj, who has absolutely no understanding of how people live in the rural areas. Air rice farmer, and James, you will know that. You grow planting. Air rice farmer cannot depend wholly and solely on rice to live. He had, this morning when we were staying at Mr. Natram, and you know what his wife told us? On Saturdays and Sundays, she will go with her children
5 in the morning.
5 in the morning and don't come back until late in the evening. Now, and they cannot depend on the rice industry to survive. And they plant every single thing that you can think about, having a little poultry farm and all that kind of stuff. So that these people are doing 3 or
Subsistence
4
farming,
or 5 different types of things to survive. That is the situation, and we want consumers, or Guyanese consumers, brothers and sisters who eat in rice, to understand that this is what is happening to the poor rice farmers. And that is why we are advocating, myself and Torain, the Guyana Rice Producers Association Action Committee is advocating that the farmers' conditions will never be better unless they change this PPP government and to elect a new government that will represent their interests and that will have people who are involved in the industry that will be the true representative. That is that's the way forward.
Okay, I want to mention one point very important, because people were so gravely insulted. Mr. Jagdarai went on public television and said to a reporter of Channel 65, go to the rural areas and see all those farmers got big houses and cars and so forth. You know how people were hurt with that? Those people have, when you calculated 5 in the morning till late afternoon, man, wife, children, they have, you can say, 2 jobs, each one of them a day. From the 80s till now, shouldn't those people have evolved a bit? Are you envying them because they have built a little house with a little paint on it? Why are you insulting those people who feed us? This is unacceptable. People shouldn't accept this kind of things.
Let's have a question.
Well, yeah, my question, how much of an investment will be needed in terms of infrastructure and mechanization in the rice industry?
The rice industry is an ongoing process. So you cannot say that, well, we need so much. Over that period where it was started, 1989, till up to today, 25 years, we should have all rice farmers should have been middle class. And they were way ahead there until this Venezuela deal come, and these boys thought that, well, this is our chance to become multi-gazillionaires, and they killed it. They killed it, you understand? So the restructuring will take time and money. Fortunately, we still have the Petrocaribe deal. But you know what gives me cold sweat? I'm afraid that when we finally find out where that money is, that it isn't there anymore. Because everybody is so secretive about it. And then I'm asking the PPP people, come clean. Tell us where the money is, what you've done with it, and so forth, so we know. You understand? And it's the same thing. The farmer this morning was so frustrated, and he asked me, when a PPP supporter, one of the few ones which was still at the back, he said, yeah, but they've been rig election. You know, PNC been rig election. You know what the man answered? Tell me the difference with rigging election and not having an election for 22 years.
Local government elections for 20 years.
Does that make sense to you? What's worse?
No elections.
No
But
Of course. So those things of the past, rice farmers don't want to hear those nonsense anymore. We want to talk about how we fix it now. We have evolved with 22 years further. You understand? We had a thriving industry, and today the small farmer is in bankruptcy.
The man who caused the crisis in the rice industry is Mr. Jagdeo, and he tries to cover up everything he touches become filth. You look around and you will see the education system, the transportation system, the health system, the agriculture, aquaculture. We can go on and look at everything that he touched.
but Mr. Muhammad, I must say that it's not Jagdeo's doing. I must say, in part, I would not blame Jagdeo for the state we're in now. It is Donald Ramotar. I think he has not grabbed the country by the scruff. He has not seized the bull by the horns and fixed this country. He is the president.
Ramotar has been placed there. He was quite
But
surprised.
he is the president. He has the power to fix the industry, and he has failed.
James, that's what has happened in this country.
He can't say it's
we
Jack Hill's
have
fault.
had
It's his fault.
we have had people who have been placed what we Dragon himself called square plugs in wrong hole. Ramutar is a square plug in wrong hole.
But we need to remove him.
Well, that is why we're agitating that we have a new government, and that new government, as you know, you are an activist of the political organization that will form that new government, the APNU AFC government. That is what we're agitating, and you know, I've joined you.
I know.
I have
You know,
joined you openly.
we've been together in this since the first coalition in APNU,
Yes.
2011.
Yes.
But I want to make it clear that I will not give the Ramatara a free pass. I will not say because he was placed there that I should hold him accountable. Because it is under his watch.
No, Mr. Grange has made it absolutely clear. People who have committed atrocities and have done things inimical to the Guyanese people would face the consequences. And I agree with that. And we would not, as rice farmers, we would not allow them to get away with the poverty that the way in which they have impoverished the rice farmers and placed them in a state of bankruptcy. James, we're in a serious situation because when you look at the high level of suicide among rural people and among young people, what does that tell you? We among the, I think, South America, we are the highest on the list of suicide. And if you go and you look around at the social problems that this country faces, Ramutar, yes, I agree with you, is one of the architects of what we are facing here today.
He messed up with Gaisuko.
Yes, he has sat on the board, the Gaisuko board, since the PPP came into office in 1992.
Gaisuko is a mess.
And it is in a total mess. And that is why myself and Torain have come out quite openly over the last 7 years, because we want to prevent the crisis in the rice industry and the decimation of the rice farmers. And we're happy here to be associated with you. Because one of the other things too is this, James, is that we as Guyanese, first of all, belong to different racial grouping. But we all are Guyanese, and that is central to our development. And what Jagdeo has been doing is to try to use whatever means at his disposal to divide us. And we, through this program, I want to tell the viewers, people who will be looking at this program, to understand that each of us has got a responsibility to each other, to bring and to unite each other, and to understand that the future of this country lies with all of us. Excellent. And that we must not allow Mr. Jagdeo
or Mr.
Ramutar. What is on trial is Mr. Jagdeo, Mr. Ramutar, and Mr. Rohi. They are on trial, and when we go around to the campaign booth, and let me explain, we are really going to the rice farming areas, and we have the necessary facility to be able to do that, and we will explain in very simple language the culprits that have caused this country to be in the state in which we are. We will spare no chance.
I must say you've been doing a very, 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 very good job.
Very
good. I've been following you guys in the press. You're doing a fantastic job amongst our rice farmers. I think that they're looking for that degree of advocacy, high level of advocacy.
We are great. We are. I think Torin will.
It's very rewarding when you see how the farmers treat you. You understand, and that we see that these people have been kept in the dark.
Gentlemen, we have to leave it there, but thank you very much for a very robust discussion. We had joining us Mr. Torin, Mr. Torin Durga, my apology, and Mr. Jenna Raman, and they are from the Rice Producers Association Action Committee. And gentlemen, it has been an education as we were discussing the rice industry and more or less our national staple. We hope we have given you adequate food for thought as we wind down to May 11th, and we hope by that time you would have made an intelligent choice to moving our country forward. Thank you very much.